From the Oklahoma newsroom, it's time for the weekly Energy FC update. I'm Jenny Carlson here in studio with the coach, Steve Cook. Coach, it was a good week. You guys had a great week, in fact.
It seems a long time since we last talked, and I know that we came on the back of a difficult away trip, and certainly in the last couple of games we've really done a great job, and the players have been fantastic and picked up 2 good wins, so hopefully we can keep that momentum going.
Well, let's talk about the one that got you on the winning track, which was against Tulsa, obviously that in-state rivalry we talked about last week. Adam John, who was here, got the first goal of that game, and you got lots more. You won that one 3-0, got the wrench back in the black gold derby, and really got a lot of nice play out of a lot of different guys. But what was key in your mind for that win in Tulsa?
I think everybody's application and intensity was really, really good, and they understood the rivalry. They understand the fact that it's a derby game, and they get to put a lot of smiles on people's faces that are on the away trip with us, with the fans. And I think one of the most pleasing things were those 3 strikers scoring a goal, you know, and I think that does a great thing for their confidence, and obviously that takes them forwards into the next game, and really just to score 3 goals away from home is going to tell us something about where we might go this rest of the season. Well,
I mentioned Adam John, but as you mentioned, Christian Valesky gets on the board, as does Alex Dixon, and those guys, we've seen their names throughout the year. They've continued to score, but to have all 3 in the same match, like you say, there's got to be some power in that, I would think.
There is, and I think, you know, strikers thrive on confidence, and they tend to get goals in little bunches. So to have all 3 of them in form and scoring goals at the same time tells me that, you know, we've got an opportunity here to win some games down the line here. And obviously we played that game. It was a good performance, defensively solid as well, and to win 3-0 on the road is not easy any day. So to do that again in Tulsa and bring home that wrench for the fans was awesome for everybody.
Now this wrench, do you guys pass it around like they do the Stanley Cup or the World Cup? Or I mean, is there some guy doing like home renovations with that this week or something?
You know, I'm not certain, but because I'm not too involved in that. But I do know that I sent somebody to grab hold of it off some Tulsa Roughnecks fan who was, I think, drinking beer somewhere, and we brought it back. Gave it to the players, and they gave it to the fans. And I think the fans have had to do a little bit of much-needed renovation work on the wrench. It is now, I am told, shiny and new and painted green.
There you go. All right. Well, you get that big win in a rivalry game, and then you come right back on Saturday and get what could arguably be a bigger win against the top team in the Western Conference. You guys, it was a great battle, and then you get the game winner in the 83rd minute from a newcomer, Monty Patterson. That was a game with a lot of swings in it. How'd you see your guys respond to all that?
Yeah, it was a really good performance, and I think in the first half we were outstanding and scored a couple of goals on things that we'd really focused on in recent days. So it was important that we saw that from the players. And then unfortunately in the second half, you know, or fortunately for Salt Lake City, they scored 2 goals that were absolutely phenomenal from outside the penalty area. And some days those goals go in, and some days they go miles over the crossbar. So that kind of put us on the back foot a little bit. But I think in the last 25 minutes or so, the players responded absolutely fantastic, and every single player in the game was hard working and really together, and we created some openings that I think we should have probably gone on and scored more than the 3, but Monty Patterson there with just a few minutes to go got the game winner, and we hung on, and it was a really not only good performance but a great result for everybody.
We'll talk about your other goal scorers here in a second, but we got to talk about Jose Barril, because assisted on all 3 of the goals in that match for your team, earned him a spot on the USL Team of the Week, which was just announced here a little bit ago. But first player in franchise history to record 3 assists in 1 match. Unbelievable. I mean, that sort of thing. I mean, you see hat-trick goals, but you don't often see a guy with hat-trick on assists.
You don't often see this. I mean, and credit to Jose, he's always a threat, and we've tried to encourage him to play higher up the field and a little bit closer to the strikers. I think he's very good around the penalty area, and in this game in particular, I think he picked out 3 passes, and unfortunately for him, I think we could have had some more, and he could have had 4 or 5 assists because he was in a great position several times, and it all just clicked for him. And you know, with every great assist comes a great finish as well, and I think the 3 guys taking the chances did really well, and Jose Barril for sure deserves Team of the Week, and I couldn't be more happy for him. He's been in really good form. He's been working extremely hard, and he's a good professional.
You know, I mentioned the other goal scorers, and that was Christian Valesky and Alex Dixon, 2 of the guys that scored a few days earlier in Tulsa. But Valesky's goal came 25 seconds into that match. He scored some other quick goals. You got to think teams are going to start paying attention to that. He's a guy that looks like he's hunting for that quick strike early.
Yeah, we want the team to start with an intensity and a passion, because I think in any opening stages of games you can dictate the momentum, and certainly in that game I think that might have even dictated the outcome of the game. And Christian, I think that's his second really quick goal this season. I think the first one was away at Tulsa. And I think, you know, when you set out with the right mentality and you set out with the right plan and then you execute it, there's no telling when the great moment in the game comes. It could be the first minute or it could be the last, but to be able to score one early and then get one late as well is obviously key for our team. And
Monty Patterson gets that late goal in that match. He's the 12th player on your roster to score this season, which is the most players to score in a season since it was 14 in 2014. And he's a new guy. To have yet another guy on this roster that can score for you guys, how important is that?
I think it's crucial. You know, like I said, strikers tend to go in little bunches, so they have runs of form and they're excited when they're scoring and they're confident when they're scoring. But if you have more than just one or two guys who can score goals and be a threat to goal as well is more important. And I think the fact that there's 12, I didn't know that, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because I think it's important that more and more players look to get on the score sheet. If you're a defender and you go up for set pieces, you should be looking to score, and obviously the players in the glamour positions get the recognition. But it's a great team effort, and I think the reality is that our form has turned into a really good spell for us, because the group have stayed together and been really good as a team.
Before we look ahead, one more thing about that Saturday win against Real Monarchs. Juan Pablo Guzman played for the first time since late April. How important was it to have him back in the rotation?
Yeah, it's been a long road for him, you know, and he struggled with his injury, and then he re-injured it, and he's basically had 3.5 months out of not only games, but he's not really been training too much in that time. So he's short of a little bit of fitness, but obviously at the end of the game there, where you kind of score the winning goal and you want to solidify things in the middle, Juan Pablo Guzman is a great player to put in, and I think he did a good job.
All right, now you guys get a little bit of a breather because you don't play till Saturday, which after 3 matches in 8 days, this is sort of a return to normal. Obviously, 1 game a week is what you want, but since you had that tough stretch before, do you give the guys a little more of a break, or how do you sort of approach this week before the Saturday match on the road?
No, we roll straight into it, you know. So Sunday we had a day of recovery, and then Monday we're back at training, and Tuesday today we're training hard. We'll be back at it, and we keep going, you know. And I think from a player's standpoint, they love the games, but it's nice for us to be able to take a little breather here and then plan and progress from there. But I think we've got a tough matchup this weekend. I think it's not easy for us, and I think we're going to need every member of the group to be fully fit and ready to go, and hopefully that means we can keep this momentum going.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that before you get out of here. Rio Grande Valley FC, Saturday night, you're heading to Hidalgo, Texas for that match, 7:30 start, ESPN Plus for people that want to check that out on the broadcast. But you guys are in the mix for the playoff spot, which, you know, there was a time earlier this season that would have seemed, you know, difficult. Here you guys are. What's the challenge on Saturday against these guys?
Yeah, it's a bit early for us to be turning our attention to the playoffs. You know, we've got 9 games to go, and I think we've got to start by winning in Rio Grande Valley. And I think they're a good team. They're certainly a team who at home have not conceded many goals, and at home they've not lost many games at all. They've tied a lot, but they're very difficult to break down and very difficult to win in Rio Grande Valley. But I think from our perspective, we go there full of confidence. We see it as a game where we think if we play to our best potential, we can win the game. If the players stick to a plan and work hard, I'm certain that we can cause them some problems. We had a great result against them earlier in the season at home, and hopefully that means we can turn this one into a win. But, you know, make no mistake, it's really all about planning for the one game and not looking too far ahead right now.
This team has had the ability to rattle off a string of wins to get going. What do you sense from those previous runs that you might be able to, you know, tell the guys, hey, remember we did X, Y, and Z during that time. Let's try to do that again and extend this winning streak. What have you learned from this team about when they go on these runs, what it takes out of them?
I think be humble, continue to do the things that you really do well at. And I think in this last week, scoring 6 goals, we scored goals in ways that we believe we can continue to do. And I think defensively we've been quite solid on the road as well. So for me, it's more about sticking to what we do really well and really encouraging the players to do what they do best and do it as often as they possibly can. We go there full of confidence, we go there full of expectation to win the game, but also knowing that if we're not to our best performance level, then we could get hurt as well. So we go there hoping that it's a 3-point weekend for us, and we can then roll into the next game and hopefully take it from there into the playoffs, as you say.
All right, it's Saturday night, 7:30, Rio Grande Valley, ESPN Plus. If you want to check that out, you can go to energyfc.com for all information about upcoming matches, tickets, team, anything you want about Energy. It's right there. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.